Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. Welcome into 6 p.m. in Lincoln with former Nebraska linebacker Chris Kolarevic.
Intercepted, ball game over. Picked off by Chris Kolarevic.
This is 6 p.m. in Lincoln with Chris Kolarevic, sponsored by the Teammates Mentoring Program on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hey, what's up, Lincoln? This is Chris Kolarevic. I'm on 6 p.m. in Lincoln tonight. Oh, you know what? We got to get that clock in the studios changed. It still says 7 o'clock. We got that daylight savings a couple weeks ago. Jed, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Chris. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Welcome on the show. I'm glad we got to make it work.
Yeah, no, that's great. Good to see you. Even though
too.
I'm not seeing you in person, I'm seeing you digitally, but that's all right.
Yeah, it would have been nice to get you in studio. Yeah, I know. So when Justin hit me up about you wanted to come on the show, I was so fired up. I knew I needed to get you on.
So, well, what do we want to talk about, Chris?
I think we want to talk a little bit. We want to talk some UNI football. We want to talk a little bit about your career. We want to talk some strength and conditioning, some nutrition, everything that's in your expertise. I'd like to hear about. Let's start with this because this has been in the news. Let's talk about UNI football. Let's talk about Mark Farley. Where's your head at with the UNI program, with Coach Farley retiring? What do you think? What do you think about all that?
Well, Coach Farley and I were pretty close through the years. I've worked with him for 20 seasons, and it's been quite a ride. So I'll tell you what, I learned a lot from Coach Farley over the last 20 years. He's got to be one of the most competitive people I know. Guy works very, very, very hard. There's probably not anybody on campus that's putting in any more hours than Coach Farley. Guy wants to win, gritty. And the one thing I'll say about Coach Farley, there's a lot of things behind the scenes that he never complained about and never really let on about. So it's always difficult at our level of football with the resources that we have. And he was always a grinder, trying to figure out how to make things work on less. And I watched him do that through the years without ever complaining or ever pointing fingers as to why things might not be going the way that maybe he felt they should be going. And that was very admirable of him. And again, there's control what you can control. That's a cliche that we've heard throughout our lives. I watched him through the years really pay no mind to things that he can't control. So he would anytime there'd be something that might be a problem or an issue, he'd kind of analyze it and think in his head, there's nothing we can do about that. Let's not spend any more time even thinking about that. Let's move on, focus on things that we can control. And those are some of the things that I really admire him about working with him through the years, just watching him work, watching him really try to focus on those things that he can control, and really not stress out about other things. So it's been a long ride, and it's going to be interesting to see kind of the direction that we do go. And I think that it was a tough year for Coach, and I know that the way things have changed, with the NILs, the portal, it maybe doesn't interest him as much coaching in that world as the previous one. So
I could definitely see that, and I saw that in his press conference that he talked about this. And I'll say this about Coach Farley. When you're at the program, and I think most guys felt this, it was tough to get along with it at times, especially for players, because he was so hard on guys. Mm-hmm. He was so competitive and wanted to win so badly, and he was so hard on guys around him. But what I've noticed after talking to a lot of old teammates and even with myself, looking back on it and having some hindsight, he was such a good – he prepared you so well for the game of football, because football is not easy and football is very tough and challenging, and he prepared you for that toughness, and he gave you that grit that you needed to go play well. And I think he did such a good job of preparing young men to be good humans in life and play well with a lot of toughness on the field.
I'd agree with you, Chris. Coach Farley's very old school, and it came up through the idea of tough love. You're going to go through adversity in the game of football. It is one of the most physically demanding sports, and with 100% injury rate, as you know. Nobody gets through the game of football at any high level. Even high school, you're going to get hurt. It's the nature of the beast. So you're going to get hurt every single game. If you actually get out there and play, that you're going to be dinged up. It's going to be like you're in a car accident. So it's a unique sport in those regards. And I believe Coach Farley just came up when he was young in that idea of just make tough, gritty individuals. Now, as you know, through your years playing here at UNI, he did have a tough love. But I will say that behind the scenes, I got to know him in a different way where, he does really care about his players.
I completely agree. And you know what's crazy? So I'll say this. So I played for Coach Farley and then I played for Coach Frost. And they were kind of opposites in the way that they coached. And when I was talking about the hindsight with Farley, it's you could tell, yes, to your face, he was this very competitive, very abrasive in your face person. But you knew behind closed doors he was going to battle for you. Mm-hmm. You knew behind closed doors he had your back. And to me, it felt like the opposite when I was at Nebraska. It felt like I had a coach that wanted to be friends with everybody, wanted to be nice to everybody. And then behind closed doors, he did not have your back. And it was very clear to everybody in the program that he wasn't somebody that was telling you what was on his mind. And I grew to appreciate Coach Farley in that way because I looked back on it and I always knew where I stood with him. I always knew whether he thought I was playing well, whether he thought I was being lazy, or whether he thought I needed to work harder, or whatever it was. I always knew where I stood. And I think that was very valuable as a young person trying to navigate this tough climate of college football, knowing where you stand with a coach and knowing what he's expecting out of you. And I grew to really appreciate that.
Yeah, Coach Farley has always been one that'll tell you what he thinks, and he just lays it out, and he might not be the most politically correct with a player sitting down with him. He's just gonna let it all out, and you've got to respect that, and I've always appreciated that with working with Coach, and like I said, the funny thing is I had a special relationship with him. I was a strength and conditioning coach. I'm behind the scenes. I'm no threat to him. I'm only developing his guys for battle. I was his ally, and for me, a lot of guys couldn't joke with him. Okay, but I could, because it's like and you knew that I could have fun with Coach, and I think he got a kick out of me because sometimes I'm like, hey, we got to have a little fun here, and I'll joke with them and whatnot, and we had a different relationship. And again, coming from the strength and conditioning side, he knew I was going to get his guys ready, and he knew what the expectations were. On the football side, I was never going to question or go in and get into debates on what we should be doing, how we should, it's like, no, that's his job. That's his staff's job. And, some extent, I feel like maybe some of the assistant coaches through the years, they probably wondered, like, gosh, he likes that guy, he's over there smiling and laughing and whatnot. And
he didn't do that with many people.
No. And then the assistant coaches, are going like, geez, like, what's up with that? Well, again, he was hard on players, and he was hard on he had high expectations on the staff as well, and those expectations and standards, he'd push. So I get it, but he always treated me really, really well. And
yeah, I think as deserved, I think he had a ton of respect for you because I mean, if you just look at the numbers, you guys are putting guys in the NFL like clockwork. And that was a lot due to, I mean, you look at the Spencer Browns, you look at the Trevor Pennings, you look at how they're developed. I mean, that's in large part due to your strength and conditioning program. And I think there was a
like
high
Wolverine
level.
when you left here now, Kolarevic.
Yeah,
I don't know what you look like now, but I remember I used to call you Wolverine. So.
Wolverine. Yeah, I've leaned out quite a bit since I stopped playing. So I went and played in the CFL this most recent season, and then ended up retiring in January. Decided to be done. By the way, did you know Jared Brinkman's playing in the Grey Cup? I think right now, actually.
That's what Jared's, and as you know, he's a stud. Jared's awesome.
Stud. Yeah.
Former teammate of yours and
former roommate.
I guess you guys were roommates. Yeah.
Yep.
Brinkman's a guy that if he was about a half inch taller, he would have been playing in the NFL, but he's tearing it up in the CFL. He's a stud.
He is. He's been playing really well. I'm gonna have to go tune into that game afterwards.
Yeah, no, that'd be good. But yeah, we've had a lot of good players that have come through here at UNI, and we're gonna have a lot more. We've got a good tradition of developing and putting out good players. So
what have you noticed that separates a good team from a not good team? Because this year, obviously, haven't won a conference game, not playing as well. Other years, I mean, Coach Farley's taken him to the national championship. He's had undefeated seasons.
Yeah, and there's a lot of
separates those type of teams.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers to that, Chris. So the first layer I'm going to point out and is one of the reasons he said in his press conference why he wanted to retire at this point in time, and that's just the portal changes a little bit of your culture. So when it's easy for kids so one of the things that we've kind of heard, we've had a lot of guys that have went through our redshirt development program, and they're not the same guy as when they walked in, and they're able to get money. Okay. And so with that portal, and we're able to develop those kids, which we've done for years, but a kid that's a walk-on, and it's hard to blame him. Okay. So a kid that's not getting any money, that's a pretty good player, but didn't get any offers anywhere, can come in and then physically, put on 25, 30 pounds. Their strength numbers go through the roof, which is going to attribute to their speed. And, maybe it takes a year and a half, 2 years. And then they can cash out on it. Okay. And then there's parents that will act as agents, and I don't blame them. Father that, sees the development on their son. There's some kids have come in as preferred walk-ons out of state, so forth, and then they can farm out their kid and be able to generate a little bit more revenue for the kid. And it's tough to blame them because if they're not getting any type of stipend or income here, especially if it's a walk-on, or they're not getting as much as they would elsewhere, yeah, we can develop them. And that's going to be a problem we're going to have from now on, Chris, to be honest with you, because we do have that reputation of being able to physically develop players. And what's to stop recruiting to happen, or parents to act as an agent to put those kids out to be able to take care of their sons?
Yeah, I think first of all, it's a well-deserved reputation, and second of all, yeah, it's a tough issue. In some ways, for those walk-on guys, I think getting money to play, if they can get it elsewhere, is a good thing for them as much as it hurts the program. But I do see it kind of leveling out as time goes on. There's been this crazy rush because when I went in the portal, it was right when that season had gotten canceled.
Right.
And it was like the first 6 months that the portal was a thing. So like when I went in and I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't really know what was going on. Nobody did, because it was like the first 6 months in the portal. Nobody even was like tweeting about it, or I didn't even like tweet when I would get offers, because it wasn't really a thing. And nobody really knew what was going on. And I think there's been this weird few-year transition where there's just been kind of like, it's almost been like the gold rush of everybody going on the portal, everybody going on the portal.
Yeah.
And then I think it's going to even out in transition where you're seeing guys go in the portal now and not getting picked up. And I think that might cause a little bit more apprehension to do that.
Yeah, and I see that, and we don't know. It's still the Wild West. We don't know
big time
what kind of changes are going to occur with the portal, what kind of rules get into place. I mean, there's going to be change and flux. That's all we know. There's really no way to tell the future on this. But my philosophy on the portal is this. I look at it, and this is just the way I am. Any kid that gets brought to me, I'm going to give them my best. And so, it doesn't matter if they're there for 1 week or they're there for 1 year. I'm their coach. So whether you leave after a week, I'm going to be your resource. I'm going to help you out. That's just in my nature. So if I have a kid, people are asking, I've had this asked so many times, like, well, is this going to be the developmental school? Is this going to be the place where kids know they can go walk on, get physically developed, and then go out and try to generate some revenue for themselves, go in the portal, get picked up, whatever. And I'm like, that doesn't bother me. For me, it's not going to change my job. It's the job is going to be the same. I'm still going to care about the kid. I still want that kid to be successful, whether whether it's a short period of time or a few years. It's about the holistic development of that individual. I want these young men to be good men, do great things in the world. I like having relationships just like I'm having here with you, having a discussion. I hold no grudges. I only want to help, and that's genuine, and that's who I am. So is it good? I mean, I know there are coaches that are so competitive, and it's going to be like, they're going to vilify this kid. I hate this kid. That's not me. I'm going to be in that kid's corner for the rest of their lives, or rest of mine, as long as I live.
And you really do that. You do take that holistic approach. I mean, from starting from redshirt lifting, even where we're doing similar to Bud's training, and we're doing a lot of mental work. We're doing a lot of mental toughness training, and then before every lift, doing the mind candy, giving about a 10, 15-minute talk about whether it's diet, whether it's nutrition, whether it's philosophy, whether it's mentality, giving some sort of little nugget to help people with their lives outside of football even.
Yeah, and that's important to me, Chris, because football ends for everyone. And, I enjoy just hearing from players, whether they're the Spencer Browns or the David Johnsons that have went on to do unbelievable things, knowing that you can have a relationship with them, or all the way to the kid that ended up quitting as a red shirt, and they took some of those lessons and those things that they learned in their freshman year, and maybe they failed a little bit in life, but now it's like a decade later, and they got a great family, and they're reaching out, and they're appreciative of the fact that you've helped them, and that's all I need.
It's pretty awesome. That has to be a pretty awesome feeling to have somebody reach out.
And that's why I do what I do, because you want to feel like you can make a difference in the world for someone, and if it's just one kid that you're affecting in a good way, it's easy to come to work.
It is. That's very rewarding.
Yeah, it is. So, and all the, like I said, all the kids are important to me. If I'm charged with coaching them, they came to me. And even I'm going to tell you, Chris, even on recruiting trips where I've got a kid sitting in my office, I want to help them in that meeting, because it might be the only time I ever meet this kid, talk to this kid. We got a conversation for 45 minutes in my office.
That's true, actually, because I remember my trip, and I remember asking you a couple questions about diet, and I remember actually implementing some of those before I even got to you and I. and they actually helped with my training. So that's very true. And I think the impact that you have on people when you approach life like that can't be put into numbers. It can't be put into statistics. It's just you're having a real impact on young humans' lives that could end up affecting their trajectory in a really positive way going forward.
I mean, and that's always been my mission is to help. I'm behind the scenes. I'm there to help kids to get to where their dreams are, where their goals are. So, and that's I'm a support staff, and my name's not going to be the one in lights, and nor do I want it to be. I don't use social media. I mean, that's just you can get anything from me you want. Come in and sit down, as you know, call me or whatever. I'm an open book. So.
Definitely. So where does the foundation of your strength and conditioning philosophy come from? Where'd you go to school? How did where'd you pick everything up?
Well, it never ends, Chris. It just never ends. My philosophy is, and I'll just pop even this right here. So I've got a guy going to be coming in, Vladimir Platonov, who is the godfather of the old Soviet sports system. He's probably the biggest name in in the sports science. I got him coming out to a conference here this spring in April, and my philosophy is just I'm a lifelong learner. I always want to give my athletes or kids that I'm coaching, working with, a competitive advantage, a competitive edge. So the where did that start? I have no idea on how I developed that philosophy, Chris. I know I was I was an athlete in college. I had some injuries, some not unlike you, where I had some reconstructive surgeries. Things didn't go the way I wanted them to go. So because of I had setbacks. But everybody fails and loses in life, and it's not that failure, it's what do you do with that failure? Okay. And how do I learn from that? So I guess I wanted to figure out ways that I could help athletes to get where they wanted to go. And I didn't make all the best choices either, and none of us do. And so I guess I started digging deep, as like, how could I help athletes and give them resources that I didn't have. And if I had to go back, what would I wish I would have had? And I guess it maybe started like that. I could get into crazy, funny story of even how I got into strength and conditioning, because it wasn't even my plan. But once I got into it, that's what I where my philosophy was. But initially,
I'm curious how you got into it, because me and a lot of the teammates that I played with, we're kind of dealing with that transition of figuring out.
So okay,
how did that go? Because we're all
This is a funny story. I mean, and this story could take 2 hours, but so I went to college. I was an athlete, had some setbacks and whatnot. I wanted to go into law enforcement. I was getting a teaching license. I had a physical education, psychology, and weird thing is I had a social studies degree. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and had the coaching minor and everything. It was in my undergrad. But I really wanted to, if it didn't work out athletically for me, I was like, you know what? I think I want to get into like some undercover narcotics and do some stuff in law enforcement or military. I'd been dating my wife now, and we're talking. This is 1990 to the mid 90s. So I'm dating my wife, and I never told her I was going to go into the law enforcement and whatnot. But I had this teaching license, because it's like, okay, I'm graduating. I got this teaching license. I got accepted into this law enforcement program I was going to go into, and we were engaged to be married the summer after I graduated. And so I was like, hey, I'm going to go to this law enforcement program. She's like, hey, you never even talked to me about this. I never even knew this. I thought you were going to be a teacher. I'm like, I want to go into, be a cop, do something. She's like, you're going to be a small town cop? And I said, no, I'm more interested in like undercover narcotics, things like that. And so
I love that.
she just flat out gave me an ultimatum. She's like, hey, I'm not interested in marrying someone that I have to worry about coming back home at night and being out all hours. And I'm like, so what are you telling me it's off? If she goes, that's not the life that I had envisioned. You never even told me about this. And so I go and I become a high school teacher. Okay. So I'm in over my head. As anyone who's went out teaching, you really don't know how to teach. Fair. I'm in front of juniors and seniors in high school. They gave me 5 preps. That's 5 different classes to teach. I still remember this. It was American government, geography, history of Western civilization, psychology, and sociology. I really don't know anything, Chris. And so I'm going to be sitting in front of these kids, trying to give lessons. So I'm up all night trying to study, go in and actually know what I'm talking about in front of these kids. They fire the strength coach, and it's a big high school up in the Twin Cities. There's 2,800 kids in the high school, and I would go in and lift because probably like you, former athlete, and it was stress relief. I'd go in there and lift. I was the only teacher that'd go in and lift, but I'm in over my head. I'm trying to figure out how to stay above water, and they fired the strength coach. That's a whole funny story that Anyways, the head football coach comes up to me and the AD comes up to me and they're like, hey, we need you to take over as a strength and conditioning coach. And I'm like, okay.
That's destiny. That's destiny, I think.
Yeah. And so I didn't even want to be. I love to work out. I love to exercise. I like to get after it. But I'm like, I didn't want to coach anybody in there. And I called my grandfather, who was a superintendent of some district somewhere else. And I was like, hey, they were asking me to do this. I'm like, I don't even have any time to do this. And he goes, you know what? He goes, if you were in my district and we asked you to do something and you didn't do it, he goes, you're not tenured. You won't be back next year. Okay. So, all right, I'll be the strength and conditioning coach. So I go in, I suck. All right. I can lift. All right. But I can't coach anyone. So I'm the guy that's like do this, you're trying to show them how to do movements and stuff. Just, hey, and like, are you kidding me? And I had no patience, completely different animal than you're talking to right now. So I'm making kids cry. And I remember this kid, I was just a simple action. I was like, hey, here's a line tricep extension. This is how you do it. This guy's like, and I'm like, I handed him the bar. I go, you got it? He says, yes. And I'm not kidding. This is my first week in the weight room, right? Hand him the bar. And I go, you got it? He said, yeah. All of a sudden it slips out of his hand, goes into his mouth, breaks his teeth. I yelled at him and I said, you're a hazard to the room.
He's got gushing blood. There's gushing blood covered everywhere.
Yeah. I'm like, and so I was like, okay, true story. Okay, I'm sitting in the fall workshop now. Teachers will have it's a workshop.
Hey, hey, Jade, I'm getting cold. We got to go to break real quick. Can we pick this up in like 2 minutes?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, cool. I'll see you in a couple minutes.
I'll tell you.
All right, sounds good.
All right, let's go to break here. We'll be back with 6 p.m. in Lincoln with Chris Kolarevic.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Underground, who has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know the baddest dudes in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and pedigree of success. Bauer, a family-friendly company who reminds you, go Big Red!
The electrical workers of Local Union 265 are now hiring licensed journeyman electricians from $32.50 to $42.50 per hour with paid benefits. And if you're looking for a new career, they're hiring apprentices at $19.50 per hour with paid benefits. Call the office at 402-423-4497 to apply. Start your electrical career today. The Mill Coffee and Tea. Formerly with only 4 Lincoln locations, now 5 Lincoln locations. That's 25% more locations than there used to be. Can you even imagine a world where there's only 4 Lincoln Mill locations? That feels like ages ago. We were all so young then. The Mill on 11th, located right alongside the 93.7 The Ticket Studios on O Street. Attention students and anyone else looking for a great deal. Sun Valley Lanes and Games has the ultimate weeknight special. For just $15.95, enjoy unlimited bowling, lucky putt mini golf, and laser tag. Flash your college ID at check-in to receive $2 off your admission. It's the perfect way to unwind Sunday through Thursday nights. Check out sunvalleylanes.com for hours and availability. Sun Valley Lanes and Games, located at 321 Victory Lane.
Lincoln's best place to meet, eat, and compete. Sun Valley.
When you need a new water heater, nothing beats the ProLine family of water heaters from A.O. Smith. ProLine models are built using commercial-grade components, meaning they're built to help you tackle your toughest days. No matter if you need a gas or electric model, A.O. Smith has a ProLine unit for you. A.O. Smith, innovation has a name. Call Wellman Plumbing at 402-434-2400 for a great deal on a water heater today. Again, that's 402-434-2400.
Hi everyone, Kendall Warnock with A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. If you're looking for an automotive repair facility you can genuinely trust, we would be grateful for the opportunity to earn your business repairing your vehicle. We have ASE master technicians and qualified to work on a variety of vehicles from Hondas to Porsches, Jaguars to Toyotas, and Chevrolets to Fords. We pride ourselves on customer service and relationships, and we would be grateful for the opportunity to serve you. Give us a call at 402-477-4660. A1 Automotive, always honest answers.
The Link Grill, Draft, and Crafts is your spot in Southeast Lincoln for great food and drink. They're serving new menu items and a killer craft cocktail menu with your favorite draft beers. You'll love their pizza and new entree options. It's a great place to watch any live events, and they have music bingo every month. They have an aggressive loyalty program that rewards fans with 7% back on all purchases. Home of the Nebraska Power Hour every night from 8 to 9 p.m. Order online at thelnkgrill.com or stop in at 84th and Highway 2 today.
This is former Husker and NFL linebacker Jay Foreman. For years, I've suffered from degenerative problems in both of my ankles, but thanks to a thorough and thought-out plan provided by Advanced Medical Imaging, I was able to get my life back with the least amount of pain as possible. While working through multiple options, the team of physicians at Advanced Medical Imaging were there to answer any questions I had. If you're experiencing any pain at all and want to get your life back, go to amimaging.com or give them a call at 402-484-6677. Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard.
Empower a child today with the Teammates Mentoring Program. Hope is only a conversation away when you choose to share your talent, time, and heart with a child. Together, you can build a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future, 1 week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting LincolnTeammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
Hi, it's Joel Norman, the voice of your Lincoln Stars hockey team. Tune in to 93.7 The Ticket to hear the latest on the Stars with myself, head coach Rocky Russo, and special player guests.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Underground, who has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know the baddest dudes in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and pedigree of success. Bauer, a family-friendly company who reminds you, go Big Red!
Back to 6 p.m. in Lincoln with Chris Kolarevic, sponsored by the Teammates Mentoring Program on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, we're back. Jed, you still there?
Yeah, I am. Say, I'm gonna
let's go ahead and just pick up where we left off.
Yeah, I'm gonna tie in this to the University of Nebraska, which I think you're gonna think is crazy how this story goes to Nebraska. But long story short, I'm sitting there knowing I'm failing as a coach, just out of college. I'm sitting in listening to the workshops on the lunch ladies going over the new lunch menu, and I'm bored out of my skull, and I'm writing down a list of goals to be the best high school strength and conditioning coach in America. And I had standards because I'm competitive, just anything you'd learned as an athlete. You're going to write down goals. You're going to try to pick them off. Okay. One of the goals I had all the certifications and education I wanted to get, which I just knocked off. Well, one of the guys, and I put on the people I wanted to learn underneath and mentor me. And the number one guy I wanted to learn from was Boyd Epley, University of Nebraska. And so this is crazy. And this is weird how things work. But Boyd Epley was speaking in the Twin Cities at a conference. I had a buddy who worked at the college he was speaking at. I snuck in the back door. Okay, didn't pay for the conferences. Not proud of it. So I sneak in, and Epley, it's all day with Epley. Underneath my seat, okay, so Boyd says that there's a door prize. One lucky person is going to get the door prize, which is all the stuff that he won't give anyone. And he has up there, he goes, I'm going to give you everything that I got, whoever has the ticket, right? So I reach under and I rip, and all of a sudden I look in my hand and I'm like, man, I can't claim this. But then everybody's sitting next to me like, hey, this guy, he's got it. Next thing you know, Boyd's yelling. He's like, come on up here. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even pay for his conference. I go up there and
it's destiny at that point. You didn't even pay and you still got the ticket. That was meant to be.
It was meant to be. Certain things happen for a reason.
Yes.
And I go up and anyways, Boyd and I have been good friends to this day. He's been and he knows that I snuck in. He said I should have got kicked out of there, but I won the door prize.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I won in a relationship with Boyd. And really some of the things I learned from Boyd for structure, organization, really changed my life. And it really helped me to be able to put some certain things in order to be able to just start out in the field as a professional. And he was one of my great mentors. And again, I'm continuing to learn from folks, but here's what I got to say. When you put your goals in writing, okay, you are making a higher level commitment. A lot of people have goals, but putting them in writing and looking at them every day, as you know, it works. It makes a difference. And and the next thing I know, I had standards. I was developing national champions in the sport of weightlifting, and I wanted to prove that I could get kids stronger than other kids, because strength matters. So trying to get kids to qualify to nationals, national champions, and so forth. Once I got in, I was a high school strength coach for 6 years. The next thing I know, after going through, getting the different certifications, knocking off my master's degree, working with different mentors, doors opened, and I wasn't even planning on leaving the high school. But the next thing you know, I'm sitting in Mike Tice's office, interviewing to be a Viking strength and conditioning coach, which was an awesome experience. Got to go in working with the Minnesota Wild players, and just had an unbelievable storybook career. It really has been, Chris, and it's just my motives are pure. I want to help athletes. I want to learn more to be able to help those athletes to get to where they want to be. And it's been amazing. I came down here to UNI after I already had a great career and ended up spending the next 20 years here at UNI. Why? Because it's kind of the sweet spot. The knowledge that I have when I worked in pro sports, it's more about just maintenance. The philosophy in pro sports is like, yeah, we go out into the car lot, we get the car we want, just keep that car looking nice. And my expertise that I've developed and the knowledge, I've been all over the world to learn, and I'm going to continue because it's my hobby, it's my passion. And how to make a real power athlete, an explosive athlete. How to be able to put size on an athlete. Take a kid that comes in at 220, 6'8", and get him to be 320 pounds and have the power to go along with that. That's fascinated me. High performance sport, that's what's fascinated me. But to be honest with you, it's all because, again, my motives to help that athlete. But 20 years here, I've stayed because it's the sweet spot. You get these kids like yourself that come in, and how to get them from being an 18-year-old kid that maybe is overlooked by, all the big programs. And we're coming over here to UNI, and I feel like we can outthink the big programs. And so we've always been behind the 8 ball. We don't have the resources. We don't have the funding. I just always wanted to outthink because I've been born.
Yeah, there's a lot of grit that goes into it. And I think I always describe, like, the number one word I would use to describe the Northern Iowa football program in general is just gritty. It's just gritty, and it instills that in you the workouts are hard. You're running 180s in the winter. You're doing pause squats in the winter. You're working all summer multiple times a day. It's a gritty program that really instills that in you. And I think a lot of the bigger programs aren't able to do that because you get these bigger 5-star recruits that maybe are already developed, or maybe you have some bigger egos in the room where you're not able to really instill that level of grit in them, where you get these kids who at the smaller school, they're more moldable, more impressionable, and you're able to, like you said, you have these pure motives where you just want these kids to be successful, tough, resilient, and be strong and powerful. You can mold them and have a lot more control over that.
Yeah, and I think one of the secrets is when we do that mind candy at the beginning, there's always a why. So giving you the purpose, the why are we doing what we're doing? My job here has been a little bit different than any other strength coach because I'm in academics, so I teach exercise science. And that's always been important because I want to give you guys the reason why we do what we do. And there's a purpose. If you understand that purpose, it does help you motivate. Even though it's gritty, it's grimy, when we get after it, hard work pays off. I mean, it takes work to transform, a kid who's maybe a little bit behind. Okay, but there's a mental side of that too. They have to believe. They have to believe and understand that they can transform themselves. And to get truly strong, it does take some mental fortitude for sure.
A lot of mental fortitude. I mean, I think it builds mental fortitude too. I think it's kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah. I think that they help each other out there for sure. But giving them the purposes, the reasons, and then the mental steps along the way, that goes hand in hand. As I told you, one of my undergraduate degrees was in psychology, and so I've always been fascinated with psychology. And as you know, having me as a coach, I'm spending a lot of time on the mind because the mind controls the body.
It is. I think sports are so mental. I think you get there is a lot of physical development you can do, but a lot of the physical is given to you at birth. There is, obviously you can develop that, but you get a lot of physical at birth, and then kind of as you grow up, you're doing different sports, you're kind of developing your physical attributes. But then when you get to the higher level of sport, especially when you're a junior, senior, playing in the professional leagues, it's so mental because there's so many ups and downs and so many challenges that go along with it. And you have to deal with so many obstacles in the way, and figuring out how to keep your mind right and keep your mind on the game and focused is very fascinating.
And I've seen so many athletes come through here, and I don't know, you weren't ever a teammate of Sam Schnee, were you?
I was. Yeah.
Was he a freshman when you were?
He would have been a freshman and a sophomore, and I don't think he would. When he was a sophomore, that was his COVID year was a sophomore, so I was going to play with him during that COVID year, but then
I mean, he's an example of a kid that should have never, made it. Never. I mean, that. And he knows this. If he's listening to this, he would laugh. But that kid came in as a kid from Dubuque, Iowa. What was he? 5'9", 155-pound kid, zit-faced kid that said he wanted to walk on and play football here. And I remember him coming into my office, and I was laughing to myself, going, kid's delusional, but I'm going to be in his corner and I'm going to help him. But I'm like, there's no way this guy's going to ever get on the field. I watched that. I mean, he did everything that you ever asked of this kid to do, and then more.
And signed a contract with the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, and
awesome.
and you know, if you saw that story and you watched that kid develop, I'd watch that kid in the dome at night by himself. I'd be walking to a volleyball game. The lights are out. He'd be out there practicing, running routes, pretending he's scoring touchdowns as a freshman. And I'm like, look at this kid. Like, he's delusional. Like, no, he's practicing. He was deliberate. It was deliberate practice. And how he trained and got after it every single day in this weight room with the conditioning, with the speed drills, and then doing the micro dosing, the extra recommended training. Because as you know, I'm going to say bare minimum is what we're going to have prescribed as like this, you know, here's our lifting times that we have. If you, and you know how I am, I'm going to say, if you want to make it to the next level, it's going to take more than that.
And it does take
microdose. Come in.
It takes a little bit of that delusion too. You kind of have to be a little bit delusional.
Yeah. And so the kids that are going to come in and do the extra work, we're going to add more to this. Well, that's a kid that always did the extra. I can go through all the guys that got drafted out of here. They were the same way. The Spencer Browns, the Trevor Pennings, the Ellerson Smiths, they were coming in and they were working on extra, doing more. And just down the line, the Johnsons.
True.
But watching this kid, I'll look at other kids that had 10 times the talent as this guy. And you'd see guys that'll come in and it's like, you don't have, and I feel bad because it's like, you have no excuse.
No.
You're gifted so much more than this kid, but he outworked you. And
it's
that's
inspirational for sure. It's very
it is. And so to me, it's guys like that excite me, but it's also trying to figure out the kid that's the high potential talent. That's got all the talent in the world. That's harder. Okay. Yeah. And everybody told that kid how sweet he was every day of his life. And, he's floating around his town, his hometown, and he's the greatest athlete that they've ever seen. That one's challenging because then they come in and they don't see that they've got and I've seen a lot of failure, and I struggle because I worked so hard on those guys.
Yeah. You deal with it a lot more at the big schools too.
Yeah.
I saw that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure you saw a lot of those guys over there at Nebraska where it's like, if this kid learned how to work, because they aren't where they need to be. They're still a 17, 18-year-old kid. And if that type of kid gets after it a third of what a Sam Schnee does,
100%.
They got it.
It's true. Hey, we got to take one more break. We'll be back in a couple minutes. I'll see you soon.
Yep.
Load up on meat and more this fall at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese at 84th and Havelock. This week's special through November 12th is $2 off all crackers, $2 off on grind, $3 off on salami, and buy one, get one free on stew beef. Limit of 2. Locations at 84th and Havelock, 30th and Yankee Hill, and now 85th and Highway 2 in Lincoln, or 168th and Maple in Omaha. Get to the Mercado today for the best meat in town.
You're counting on your team to win, so why not prove it? By placing your bets at Warhorse Sportsbook. Their win is your win. Put your money where your mouth is on nearly every sporting event. Use the Warhorse app to check odds and build your bets before placing your wagers in person at Warhorse Casino, including live in-game betting. No bets, no glory. Wagers may only be placed on Nebraska-based teams when played outside the state of Nebraska. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Gambling problem? Call 1-833-BET-OVER.
Hi, it's Joel Norman, the voice of your Lincoln Stars hockey team. Tune in to 93.7 The Ticket to hear the latest on the Stars with myself, head coach Rocky Russo, and special player guests.
When you need a new water heater, nothing beats the ProLine family of water heaters from A.O. Smith. ProLine models are built using commercial-grade components, meaning they're built to help you tackle your toughest days. No matter if you need a gas or electric model, A.O. Smith has a ProLine unit for you. A.O. Smith, innovation has a name. Call Wellman Plumbing at 402-434-2400 for a great deal on a water heater today. Again, that's 402-434-2400.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Underground, who has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know the baddest dudes in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and pedigree of success. Bauer, a family-friendly company who reminds you, go Big Red!
This is former Husker and NFL linebacker Jay Foreman. For years, I've suffered from degenerative problems in both of my ankles, but thanks to a thorough and thought-out plan provided by Advanced Medical Imaging, I was able to get my life back with the least amount of pain as possible. While working through multiple options, the team of physicians at Advanced Medical Imaging were there to answer any questions I had. If you're experiencing any pain at all and want to get your life back, go to amimaging.com or give them a call at 402-484-6677. Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard.
If you're in Seward or Milford, listen up. Select Plumbing is now servicing your area with no trip charges from Lincoln. Select Plumbing works on a variety of issues for your home and business, including general plumbing, water heaters, faucet and fixture repair, underground sewer and water repairs, backflow testing, and more. Keep your property free from leaks and other issues. Call today for a free estimate, 402-560-6197. It's not just Lincoln, Waverly, and the surrounding area anymore. It's also Seward and Milford with no trip charges. Contact Select Plumbing to inquire at 402-560-6197.
Your home is your empire. Protect it with Empire Fence. Get a free instant quote with the online estimating tool at empire-fence.com. See an upfront estimate with no hidden fees. An Empire Fence can provide privacy and improve the appearance of your home. Keep kids and pets in or out of your yard. Increase security and add value to your property. Visit empire-fence.com now to view the stylish and maintenance-free possibilities for your home and get a free instant online quote. Let Empire Fence protect your empire.
Back to 6 p.m. in Lincoln with Chris Kolarevic, sponsored by the Teammates Mentoring Program on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, we've got one segment left. We've got Jed Smith, current and longtime Northern Iowa strength and conditioning coach. Let me ask you this, Jed. What are the chances you think I could get Coach Farley to come on the show?
Well, I would think you would just need to shoot him a text message and, see if he'd jump on your radio show.
Definitely worth a shot.
Yeah. You still got his number, I would imagine.
I do. And if you see him, if you could just let him know, hey, I went on Chris's show. You don't even have to ask him to come on. Just mention that you had a good time, maybe,
Yeah, I'll talk to him.
I think that would be an awesome guest to have.
I think he'll have more time. He'll have more time to talk.
True. I think that's true. Maybe he might get bored. Maybe he might want to spend a Sunday night.
I think you got good odds to get him in this off season. If he's not out recruiting, what's he going to be doing right now?
That's great to hear. I
think we can get him on. So,
let's talk a little bit. I want to hear a little more about how you approach your training with athletes. I remember you do an amazing job getting guys big, strong, fast. I want to hear your approach to how you kind of tailor that to different athletes or tailor that to different positions, or even I know you do different sports too. What's your approach to doing basketball differently or doing a running back in comparison to O-line?
Yeah. So for example, there's simple things that you need to apply as far as like the things that manipulate really are going to be rep schemes and recovery periods. Okay. So recovery time, because there's an endocrine response to exercise, and that's based on loads, intensities of loads, and endocrine response, meaning your hormonal response, your testosterone and GH. And so we want to, the thing is with a football player, understand that you guys are probably mostly undersized for your position. Very few guys, unless you're obese, coming in, which we might have to cut some, and there's kids that are going to be overweight.
Some here and there.
Yeah, but for the most part, we're going to be in a battle to try to, we have standards. So with football, very simple. We went through I'd like to say I went through, but I had grad assistants go through because it's time consuming, but I go by standards, go by numbers. So we went through the last, and you may know this or may not, but I went through the last decade of the NFL Combine, and we looked at every position, the height of every position, right? So like every guy who was a 6'6" D end, okay, 6'5", 6'4", 6'3". You can get them all lined up, right? Or linebackers, 6'5", 6'4", 6'3", 6'2", 6'1", and then we get their body weight. So you can get an average body weight per height, okay? Realize that we want to have the less body fat we have, the faster that athlete's going to be. Okay, so strength and speed. So we're going to just create standards of where we want to have those athletes physically to match up. So all the numbers, even strength numbers we've looked at of Power 5 schools, guys getting drafted, put all those numbers together. So every single position, we know where your strength levels should be if you want. So all my goals are for you, because I know what kids dream of. They all want to play in the NFL. So the numbers that we're all going to be shooting for are going to be guys that are going to be in the NFL Combine. And that sounds crazy. It's like going, oh, so you're setting up goals for guys that are going to go, to you and I, but I'm telling you it works. And we're going to set all the standards to be the strength, the speed, body weight per height to guys that are going to go potentially be drafted. And then, as you know, that's how we do it. So what goes into that? Well, let me just say, without getting into a crazy scientific lecture here, strength cures a lot of problems. If we can get the body weight to where we need to be, okay, which is going to be a lot nutrition based, and then also with rep schemes for hypertrophy. Hypertrophy is going to be a precursor to peak power and peak strength later on down the road. But strength cures a lot of problems. If I want to run faster, I need to get stronger. I need to, from the waist down especially, to be able to put more force into the ground. So continually working on our strength standards. Very few people get to and the guys who've been drafted, yes, they've optimized, maximized those strength levels. It's crazy the kids that move on to play at the next level and how that correlates to the strength. If their strength is there, typically they're going to have the horsepower to be able to run the speed. And we obviously working on sprint mechanics and we run every day all summer long, as you know. Yeah. But strength,
and it helps, I think, build it. Like you have to build it up and then cut it down. You have to spend the winter getting bigger, putting on that muscle, because when you're doing a lot of running and sprinting, it's really hard to put muscle on while you're doing it.
Absolutely. So the winter, there's a rhyme and a reason, and we have a macro cycle where we're going through phases to get people to where we want them to be. And but yes, and so what would be the difference of like a wrestler? I'm right now having a lot of fun working with the UNI wrestling team. Some guys, they can't put on, not some guys, a lot of guys are cutting weight, right? So they have a macro cycle where we're also working on what are our goals. That's completely different sport. You're talking about a weight reduction sport for the most part, unless you're a heavyweight.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm trying to look at and manipulate in the off season. We're still looking at trying to get the athlete's strength levels up. Okay. And depending upon what the goals of the athlete are, we might have to be very, very cautious of like, we can't put on any weight. Between 1 to 3 repetitions, you're not going to really put on any size on the athlete. So we can continue to get that athlete stronger so that athlete can take a quicker shot, be more explosive. There's all kinds of things that we can manipulate. But yeah, we're probably not playing with a lot of hypertrophy like we would with a football player per se.
That's definitely true.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Hey, I'm getting told we're right at the end here. I hate to cut you off here, but
yeah, run this back some other time and go.
We should definitely continue. I'll reach out again. We should do it again. An hour is really not long enough to dive into everything we want to dive into, but I'm glad we got to get you on. Good luck this weekend. I'm actually coming to the game this weekend, so I'll come say hi.
It'd be good to see you.
Yep. I'm coming up this weekend.
You know what?
So,
Ask Coach Farley in person to get on your radio show.
I will. I'll do that.
All right. Thanks, Chris.
All right. Have a great night.